Hi guys, my name is Martina. I am a portrait artist based in Austria, and today in this video I'm going to show you the painting process of my painting Blossom. So, stay tuned guys!
So again, I am so happy that you are here with me today. Today I am sharing something a little different and honestly quite special to me. A watercolor painting. Now, if you have been following my art journey for a while, you will know that I usually work with pastels. That's my main medium, soft pastels. Sometimes I also use acrylic and oil as well, depending on the mood and the project. But watercolor? That's something you almost never see here on the channel. And I think this is the first time, to be honest. And that's exactly why I'm even more excited to share this with you today. This painting is called Blossom, and I created it in May, shortly after attending a workshop by the incredibly inspiring Lioba Brückner. That experience lit such a spark in me. I came out of it feeling so motivated, so creatively charged. You know that feeling when you are just brimming with ideas and can't wait to put brush to paper. That was exactly my state of mind. So I thought, why not try something I haven't touched in ages? And that's when I picked up my watercolors again. It felt like revisiting an old friend, one you haven't seen in a while, but once you've reconnected, it all comes floating back. The playfulness, the unpredictability, the freedom. There's just something magical about how water and pigment blend, flow and surprise you. Now, quick side note. In the video you will see that I painted the skin with a very light blue undertone. That wasn't a random decision, it was quite intentional. When you use cool tones like that, especially in lighter skin areas, it adds realism. It mimics the slightly visibility of veins and a subtle variation in temperature across the skin. It's a technique I love because it gives the painting a bit more depth and honesty. But let's rewind for a moment. When I first became self-employed as an artist, I actually offered watercolor and color pencil portraits as part of my official portfolio. Yes, really. It was part of what I sold, what I presented to clients. But I will be completely honest with you. I always had this little voice in my head that whispered doubts. Watercolor is just tricky. It's less forgiving than other media. One wrong move with water and it can stain or spread unpredictably. That pressure to keep everything perfect to make sure the painting didn't warp or go blotchy, it was a lot. Especially when I was trying to produce clean, smooth gradients. Those beautiful flat washes that seem so effortless. But trust me, they are not. For me, they were one of the hardest parts of watercolor, and so over time I moved away from the medium and leaned more heavily into pastels, where I felt more in control. Later on, graphite pencil joined the mix, and I felt like a natural combination to pastel. I could blend layer and shade with precision without worrying about unpredictable bleeds or drying times. It just felt safer. So for a quite few months, actually probably over a year, I didn't touch watercolor at all. Until May. After Lioba's course, something shifted. I felt bold again, creative and honestly just curious. So I told myself, let's try it, no pressure, just enjoy the process. And that's how Blossom came to be. Of course, the first few layers were awkward. Watercolor always goes through that ugly phase where nothing looks quite right. The colors are patchy, the values are off, and you start second guessing every stroke. But I have learned over time that you just have to push through. Trust the process, keep going, and eventually something beautiful starts to emerge. And that's exactly what happened here. As I worked through the piece, I noticed how much I missed this feeling, the looseness, the spontaneity. Watercolor forces you to let go of control, at least a little bit. And in letting that go, there's a kind of joy that's hard to explain. You're not wrestling with the medium, you're dancing with it. With Blossom, I didn't feel the usual pressure. This wasn't a commission or something destined for a client. I wasn't trying to copy the reference photo exactly. Yes, I had one, but I wasn't obsessing over making it match down to every detail. Instead, I let myself play a bit more, interpret rather than replicate. So, let's talk materials for a moment, because I know some of you will ask. For this painting, I used a combination of watercolors from Schmincke Horadam, Winsor Newton and Daniel Smith. I genuinely love all three. Each brand brings its own character, but they mix beautifully together. I mostly use non-granulating colors because I often aim for smooth skin tones and realistic blending. Granulating pigments can be gorgeous, but for portraits I find they sometimes create textures I don't want. That said, for this piece I allowed myself to experiment a bit more and incorporate some granulating tones, especially in the background on florals. The paper I used was Saunders Waterford hot pressed watercolor paper. It's a smooth, high quality surface that holds up to multiple layers really well. I loved working on it, especially when I added colored pencil details later on. You will notice how crisp and defined things like the eyelashes or hair strands look. That's thanks to the smoothness of the hot pressed paper. One minor downside though, the paper detached a little too easily from the block, so I had to tape it down again mid-process. Not a big deal, but something to be aware of. If you're planning to use this paper, consider removing it from the block right away and mounting on a wooden board. Toward the end of the painting, I also brought in gouache, mainly for highlights and florals. Especially around the clothing and blossoms, it helped me add those final pops of opacity that watercolor alone can't always provide. What's the inspiration behind this piece? Well, beyond the workshop, it was very much the spring season itself. At the time, cherry blossoms were blooming everywhere. The air was warming, the days were getting longer, and nature felt like it was waking up again after a long icy winter. Even though I was born in spring, I usually consider myself an autumn soul. There's just something about those cold, crisp autumn mornings that feels grounding to me. I am definitely not a summer person. That intense, heavy heat, that kind that just clings to you and drains all your energy, honestly, it's tough on me. During those brutal hot days, I often feel sluggish and creatively blocked. The sun might be shining, but it doesn't always feel inspiring. And that's actually one of those reasons why I recently took a small break from YouTube. I needed that pause to recharge, to give myself space physically and creatively. But don't worry, I wasn't just lying around doing nothing. Even though I wasn't uploading, I was still very busy behind the scenes. I had several commissions to work on, some of which I hope to share with you when the time is right. And I also spent time creating a series of acrylic mini paintings. These are small works, each one set into handmade wooden floating frames that I built myself. It was such a rewarding process to not just paint but also craft the presentation by hand. These pieces are actually being prepared for upcoming art fairs and markets, where I will be offering them directly to art lovers and collectors in person. It's a completely different kind of energy to meet people face to face, see their reaction to the work, and to share the stories behind each piece. So, but back to the painting. And in the end, I'm genuinely proud of Blossom. Not just because of how it turned out visually, but because of what it represents for me personally. A creative rediscovery. A reminder that it's okay to step out of your comfort zone, that joy often waits on the other side of fear. So if you have been thinking of trying something new in your own art, or maybe in your life, whether it's a new medium, subject, or style, take this as your sign. Do it! Let go of expectations. Play. You might just surprise yourself, as I did with Blossom. So, thank you so much for listening and spending this creative moment with me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, when was the last time you tried something new? Please enjoy the rest of the video. And we are going to see us later. Bye for now.
Hi guys! So I am back, and I'm back with the finished painting. I really like the outcome. I think the blue and the pinkish purplish tones, yeah, suits the overall vibe. It should be, as I mentioned hopefully earlier before, it should be a spring inspired piece. But we have here midsummer already, so yeah, it's a little late to the party, but I think it's okay. Let me know in the comments how you like, yeah, my painting Blossom. Yeah, and please consider to like, share, and subscribe if you do like it. So I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you are watching this video. I hope you are going to see us next time. So until then, bye!